that's what I think, like a baseline script. And also go through like, I don't know if it's day 2 or day 3 slides, and it'll give you like an exploratory part, which is right now. So like I like to just have this page up. So every page has a purpose, and that's the way I design. So I'm probably gonna go back and forth between role play and not role play, but this page is up while you're talking to the homeowner, asking them questions. Maybe you're talking about something else that's not solar, but this page is just supposed to be there so they can maybe visualize and listen to what you're talking about at the same time. Get off a wordy page. So if you're on a wordy page, get off it. We're just talking right now, and they're like visualizing a nice little picture of solar. But this is a good time just to small talk, whatever you want to do. I like to do a little discovery right now, ask you about, so what interests you in solar? What, maybe you've already had this conversation with them a little bit, but so what, interested you in solar up to this point? Mm-hmm. You can ask that. There's a bunch of questions you can ask in discovery that are highlighted in our training day 3. Questions you can ask. You can ask them what they've learned so far about solar, what they know about it.
Yeah.
Get their like preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
One question I really like is, if you were to do this, what specifically does it need to look like for you? Mm-hmm. Maybe they know like exactly, well, I need it to look like, I really want the panels to like kind of go over here or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they'll go down the path of like financing or monthly payment or savings or ROI. They could go in a million directions. Mm-hmm. Discover, trying to figure out like what they're thinking, how they need this to look. I like the question of like, what if you did not get solar, what would maybe the top reason be why you wouldn't? Mm-hmm. Maybe get that out of them in the beginning. Just discover, let them talk. I'm talking a lot right now, but like ask them questions, get them talking, and you're just listening. That will help you form your presentation from there. Maybe try and find out like the dominant buying motive right now of like truly why they want to do this. Yes, they want to save money, of course. Assuming they'll save money and this will be affordable, what's the real reason you want to get solar? It's because I feel like it's the right thing. For the environment, I feel like producing clean energy is the right thing for us. That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to show you, everything about us and what this is going to do for your home. Cool. All right, now you can move on to like your presentation. So this page, basically just an overview. Here's what I'm gonna go over with you and cover. This helps the customer understand like you are gonna get to pricing, for example, and this calms them down a little bit rather than antsy, like when are you gonna get to pricing? They're sitting here not listening to anything else you're saying because wondering if you're even gonna get to pricing and when. Don't worry, this is an outline. I'm gonna start off though talking about why solar, why Apollo Energy, why I work for Apollo Energy, why I recommend Apollo Energy as the solar provider in the area, and then we'll go over your solar design, pricing, and outline different options for you, and savings, things like that, and then your coverage and warranty plan, all of that stuff, customized to your house. And then we'll walk through getting started and what, if you were to do this, what the next steps would be. I'll outline that for you as well. Definitely say that because you want to assume the sale. Let them know you are going to talk about the next steps and then do it. Whether they get it or not, talk about it. So that's this page, just have a kind of an agenda. Some pictures. Okay, so why solar? Here's some of the top benefits of why everybody kind of considers solar, and then here's like why people are considering it now. So you can go through these in any order you'd like. No upfront cost, reduce your electric bill, avoid utility rate increases. That's the big thing. I always tell people at this point too, like solar isn't something that drastically decreases your electric bill right away. It controls your electric costs. Mm-hmm. So that's why people get solar. They want to control what they're spending. And that's what most people ask themselves is, do I want to control my electric costs or not? So that's pretty straightforward. People usually always say yes to that. So that's a good thing to ask yourself or have them pose that question for them to ask. Do you want to control your electric costs or not? So yeah, it's all about control for a lot of people, and obviously reducing your environmental carbon footprint and your offset. So yeah, different reasons people do it, but these are like the main reasons. Why now? Here's kind of the main reasons why now. The big incentive is the 30% tax credit. I'll show you that and explain how that works. That's available through the federal government. If you were to get installed with solar this year, you can file for that next year. I'll explain that to you and show you that. Also, right now, a lot of utilities, including yours, Xcel is moving to time of use. They already moved to time of use. Do you know what time of use is? No, I don't know what that is. Well, you're probably on it. It's kind of crazy. They just do it. So you can talk about that, you know. Let me show you real quick what these rates are, and you can click on that link. It goes right to the website. Xcel's website. So to them, that's like proof, like you're not BSing, like Xcel is showing this on their website. So much higher rates. And so yeah, and then, you know, you can even pull up this map where like Xcel is limiting capacity in certain areas, but that's not a huge issue right now, but it's going to start happening. And this is all good, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. It's good. I'm just making sure this doesn't fall over.
And then low financing rates. So if you were to finance, you don't have to, but there's cash options as well. A bunch of different options to get solar financially. But if you were to finance, a lot of people do that because there's no upfront costs and really low interest rates. I'll show you what that is. They probably will be going up higher as time goes on. But right now they're like the lowest they've ever been. So you can lock those in right now. So notice how I'm setting urgency throughout the presentation. You want to make sure you do that, not all at the end. Do this throughout the presentation. Okay. Like they should be thinking about this now, big picture things. Okay. And then check in with them every now and then. Like before I go to the next page, sometimes I just say, you know, is all this making sense to you? Let them like ask a question or something, whatever. See where they're at. Okay, this page just basically, I try and keep this really simple. This is just a concept graph, even though this is their numbers. I say this is not your numbers or anything, like it's just a concept. Just showing you like increasing rates over time in the front range is just kind of what utilities have increased by over 25 years, just about 5.5% or so. And the idea of solar is to lock in what you're paying. So this is what you're paying with solar. It might start maybe close to or a little higher than what you're paying now, but of course it stays locked in, right? That's your like monthly payment. This green bar represents that. This represents increasing rates with the utility. So what are your savings? It's everything you're avoiding paying. So your savings is everything in red here, what you're not paying. In this case, let's say your net cost of solar over time is $25,000, but over the same amount of time with the utility, it's almost 70. So this is the value of solar over time in terms of savings. That's all this graph is showing here. So keep this graph really simple, and you can maybe refer back to it later if you need to. So I like to end this with, you know, if solar would do this to you, for you, in terms of savings, does this make sense to you? Would this be something that maybe might make sense financially to you? Maybe get them, like do a little small trial close there. And if they're like, yeah, that would make sense if this looks like what my situation would be, because in the back of your head, you know, this is their numbers. So if this makes sense to them, if you get the pricing page and they're like, I don't know, come back to this and you can revisit this.
Okay.
So that's kind of the strategy behind having this page there. Okay, so we'll revisit it later, but anyway, that's the idea of it. But keep it simple.
So this page changes as, like, this is actually numbers.
This is their numbers.
This is their
Every
numbers.
time you're going to have their numbers in here. Right now, you don't necessarily want to get into numbers. You'll get there. So don't really tell them that this is their numbers. Just say this is a concept graph example. Just say that, okay? Of showing you like what solar does in terms of savings, fixed costs, avoids future rate increases. Okay. That's all you got to say about this page. Here's your savings. It's everything you avoid. Is this, if this looked like yours, you know, would this make sense to you, this concept? And if you could save this much, would that make sense to you? Try and get a yes out of them. If you don't, that's okay. But hoping that if they have some issue with pricing later, you can revisit this and be like, hey, remember you said this makes sense to you, you know, if this was your numbers, you said this might make sense. So just, it's big picture here, so you can revisit it later if you need to. So it is an effective, strategy. Okay, so, but again, keep it simple. Okay, and then just a couple more, and then we'll break down your design and pricing. Okay, so I do like a little check-in here and let them know like we're about to get there, keep their focus. And so just a little about Apollo Energy, and I think the biggest difference between us and every company is not necessarily like equipment. It's not necessarily like even price or anything like that. All that stuff is pretty similar actually in the solar industry. The biggest differences you're going to find is actually between the companies that are actually working with you and installing your system and doing everything for you. That's where people are either happy or not happy. So anyway, this is just our reviews, and you can click on these too, and if you need to visit, you can show them. Click on any of these. So this is Better Business Bureau. The thing I like to highlight here is this is everybody's heard of Better Business Bureau. Obviously our reviews are great there, and but the thing I love about our Better Business Bureau and just our company is that we have 0 customer complaints, and we've almost been in business almost 10 years, but 0 customer complaints. And this is where people go if they want to really complain, is they go to Better Business Bureau and complain, or any review site, they will complain. And if you go to any solar company, basically you're going to see unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of complaints and stuff, but this is what separates us. We have happy customers, but don't take my word for it. Definitely do your research. Here's an easy way to do it. These are all clickable as well, straight to these sites. This is Google reviews, this is Yelp, this is something called Solar Reviews, specific for solar companies. So we have happy customers, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of those reasons are on this page here. So the things that make us valuable as a company is we don't subcontract. So we do our own installs. Everything's done in-house with us. And a lot of companies, solar companies, are what they call solar dealers, and they only sell solar and then they sub it all out. So you don't even know who you're working with half the time. And then we're locally owned, operated, and employed. Industry leading 25-year extended warranties. A lot of companies have that, but ours are truly extended on every part and component. So that's just a big difference. And then obviously the reviews, price guarantee, meaning everything you're purchasing, everything I'm showing you now, unless you want to purchase more or change stuff later, our price doesn't like magically change or anything. So, and we don't purposely do that either. So again, a big reason people are happy with us. Okay, and then just more about us. You can read through kind of this article later. We're just listed as the top solar contractor in Solar Power World, the biggest solar magazine out there. There's a link to our article there. And then just your support from start to finish and also beyond. We actually pick up the phone if you have an issue years down the road. We've been in business a long time, almost a decade now. So we'll be around. We're not a big national company like out of Utah. There's a lot of Utah solar companies out here. Some of them come to Colorado and they leave, or California companies, or any national company. A lot of them come here, but they're here now, but they may not be here in 5 years, for example. So you can know with us that, we're not going to be a big national company. We're going to always be here in Colorado. So, and then on top of that, some solar companies go out of business. Like we're always going to be a healthy company in business as well. So we're always going to be here. We're always going to be in business. And this is why people are happy. So we're also a certified B Corp, which is just a company that meets the highest standards of social and environmental impact. I just kind of read that. And sometimes they know about what a B Corp is, or sometimes they don't. So if they know about it, you can talk about that, and here's links to the website and stuff.
Okay.
That can really connect people. If they like B Corps and know it, we're the only B Corp solar company in Denver, and one of only 2 in Colorado. Okay. The other is Namaste. But they're 90% commercial. Totally different company than us. Okay, and then here's our blog and stuff. They can visit later if they want on our website. So this is just random. Okay. All right. So any questions about who we are? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. All right, let's get into your solar system design and all your information about your solar panel system. I don't want to overwhelm you about like technical stuff and all that, but because this stuff they probably don't even fully understand. The most important part is probably the production. Even that is like probably they don't understand. The big picture stuff they probably want to understand and look at is like this big picture of their, where the panels are going to go. So you can show them that and they can take a look, and it's in the most efficient places. And if they want to explore putting it here, that's okay. We are going to have to probably trench though and all of that. So you'll learn more about that later and stuff. But just talk about the design, and if they're not sure what to do, just recommend this. Sometimes they just need to be told what to do. So this is the best spot. It's probably the most cost effective. Everything's on the house, connected to the main panel, all that stuff. This is a system. I like to go right here. So kind of skip this for a second. So the system, well, based on your usage that you sent over, so thanks for sending over your electric usage. I know that was a little kind of tough to do, but this helps us get this for you. So thank you, I really appreciate that. This system will produce 120% electricity versus your last 12 months of electric usage that you sent over. So why did we design a system 120% and not 100? Because that just accounts for a little fluctuation in your usage every year. It gives you a little cushion. So with Excel, you can actually go up to 200%. So if you wanted, we could add maybe a few more panels here if you wanted. If you want to get as much production out of your system as possible, we can do that. That's up to you. So totally up to you. But if you don't feel like your electric usage is going to like spike up that much in the future, then this is a perfect system to go with. Don't worry if it doesn't cover all your needs. Even if your usage goes up in the future, that's okay. Even a 90% offset is great. Like any offset is awesome. The least you pay to Excel, the better. So take this number with a grain of salt because it will fluctuate every month, every year, based on your usage. So does all that make sense so far? Cool. So here's a graph that shows you your production in yellow every month. Obviously more production in the summer with solar, it's great, especially Colorado. Less in the winter, that'll be your lowest production. And then in red, here's your electric usage every month. It'll be different. Here's your overproduction months, and you're gonna get credited from the utility. They have a great system, keep this part simple. It's called net metering, and that's what makes all this work. They're gonna credit your bill anytime you overproduce in these months. At a very fair system, at a very fair rate, you're going to get that credited so you can use it in future months. So pretty cool system. They might have further questions, most of the time not. Go from there. That's pretty much all you need to say there. Pretty simple. And then this just outlines like technical stuff. This is the number of panels, 17. That's just the type of panel. And then this is your system size. Doesn't mean too much other than like number of panels and the type of panel. This is your inverter brand, and then this is the production over the first year. So yeah, any questions there?
Nope.
Cool. Okay, usually at this point, I kind of get the vibe in the meeting or whatever, and I either go right to price. Sometimes you'll jump right to price, depending. But this is the page where you can kind of talk about your inverters, your panels, and the warranties. And I don't really talk about racking because that's not like a component people love. It's like a boring part, but racking is the other component as well. Those are the three components that we're installing. So long story short, I keep this so simple and I move on pretty quickly unless they want to like really get into details about equipment. So long story short, here's just all the equipment we install. Racking is the first thing we install on the roof. That's what secures the panels to the roof. It's something you don't see, but necessary. And then the panels, and then something called an inverter, which is like the brain of the solar panel system. And that goes on the side of your house. That connects the system to your house, essentially, and it converts the electricity. So that's all it does. And so pretty straightforward, but biggest thing to understand with all the equipment we install, we extend the warranties, everything up to 25 years. Nothing less than 25-year manufacturer warranties on all the equipment installed. And then on top of that, this picture just shows you kind of highlights our critter guard that we install that protects your system. Not every solar company, unfortunately, does this. Again, a big reason we have great reviews. That prevents and protects your system from like squirrels and birds from getting underneath. That comes included. And again, not every company installs that. So like, that's why people have problems sometimes. but you'll be protected. You can see it's barely visible, but it's there. So that just highlights that.
Okay.
So any questions there? All right, and here's pricing. So this just breaks down like your pricing options and everything with solar. So we do have cash options as well. This breaks down if you were to finance it, okay? If you have any interest in doing cash at all, maybe you get an idea of that. Some people know for sure. Some people are like, yeah, I want to hear your cash options, but I'm not sure. Or some people are like, no, we probably want to finance. So this is a good time to like kind of get an idea. And you'll know based on their answer if they want any one of those three options. So, but just be clear, this is our financing option, okay? So now, keep it simple as much as you can on this page, and you'll probably have to practice it a few times to do that. Here's how I do it. Here's how I keep it simple. So I'll break down like kind of total costs and all that stuff in a second, but let's go over your financing options. You can do this as low as $124 a month. No upfront cost. That's the bottom line. That's keeping it simple. Okay, there's more to it, which I'll explain. Now back to role play. There is more to it here, which I'll explain, but that's pretty much bottom line. No upfront costs, $124 a month. There's other plans as well. This is our 30-year plan, 3.99 interest rate, pretty low interest rate. So this is the option if you wanted like the lowest monthly payment possible. That's what a lot of people go with. If you wanted like lowest interest rate possible, we also have that. This is a 1.99 interest rate. A lot of people choose this too. It's a 15-year and that's $165 a month. I'd say it's 50-50. So definitely present that option. A lot of people love that. I think we should make interest rate higher, at least the 1.99. But anyway, definitely explain both plans, and notice how I'm not even to that yet. I'm just doing this. No upfront costs, you just choose a plan, whatever plan you like the best. Sit there, let them soak on that for a second. Okay, now, remember the 30% and applying it and all that? Don't get to that yet, okay? Just let them sit on that. Okay, cool. Now let me break down actually like the total amount and break that down for you, okay? So you'd be financing the full amount, $36,000. This includes everything, turnkey, okay? Now that's what we'd finance for you too, the loan amount. Now remember I talked about a tax credit earlier with solar. It's 30% of the total. So you actually will file for that early next year, the year after you get installed. So you'll get installed this year, file for that next year. A lot of people kind of get that back. Depends how your taxes work, but as long as your tax liability is at least that amount for the year. I'm no tax advisor, but like most people's are, but you know, as long as your tax liability is at least the amount of the credit, you'll get that all back, and within year one. You have 5 years to get it all though, if you don't get it all in year one. But most people do get it all in year one. That's how I explain it. You don't have to get so in depth about it. After you file for that, it brings your net cost down to $25,200, especially if you apply that to the solar loan. Most people do that, but you don't have to, okay? Since most people do that, if you were to do that, you have 18 months to do it. And if you did that, applied that tax credit by month 18, then you're locked in. That's how you lock in this monthly payment, okay? So let me recap. This is your month, let's say you chose this plan, okay? That's your monthly payment for the first 18 months, okay? So like from now until next summer, okay? $124. In the meantime, you're gonna file for that and get that. If you took that and applied it to this by month 18, next summer, you're locked in after month 18 at the $124 for the remainder. That's how most people work this, but you don't have to do that. But that's what you do if you wanted to lock that in. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Now, some people keep that, and because that's 10 grand, you know, and a lot of people want to redo their kitchen or something, and they use this loan to do that because it's really low interest rate. You can do that too, and yes, your monthly payment would go up after month 18 if you put like nothing towards this, but a lot of people are fine with that because, you know, they're borrowing 10 grand. That's nice too. So like use this however you want. You can pose that like out of role play now. You can pose that option to people because a lot of people do like using that. They don't care that their monthly payment goes up if they can keep this.
And it doesn't go up that much.
No, it doesn't. And so what would it go up to, you know, can you show me what it go up to? Sure. You X out of this and you go to the payment calculator. So let's keep it simple for the video, but you can go and start exploring options with them. Okay. And they like that. They want to see it. It's transparency. It's like, oh, cool. So let them decide if it makes sense. So now they understand everything. Now it's just, what loan do you want to go with? What plan? So cool. So so the tricky thing with this page is practice it, number one. If they're going to finance it, I kind of don't do that first. I do this first and just no upfront costs, choose a plan, 124. It's as simple as that. Let them sit on that for a second, because it really is as simple as that. Yes, you have to explain if you were to apply money towards by month 18 or not. Yes, you still have to explain that, but get to that in a second. I would next go over this and then explain what you were to do with this 30% of the loan by month 18, how that affects your monthly payment. Explain that like third. So 1, 2, and then applying that by month 18, 3. And then see where they're at with it, and then you'll have to maybe clarify, maybe not, maybe they'll get it right away. So then it's just clarifying after that. Now, does it all make sense to them? Then you'll get to that, man, 36,000 is a little more than I thought. Okay, yeah, totally hear you. I know it's like seeing like shock value a little bit, like that's a lot of money. So is what we're paying the utility over time. Remember, after the tax credit, it's at, $25,200. Remember, these are actually your numbers. And they're gonna be like, oh my God. So remember, your net cost of solar, $25,200 over time. These are, yes, solar costs money, but so does the utility. Either option. Like if you don't get solar, you're giving your money to somebody. So you kind of have to sometimes do this. This is where sales comes in. And they'll come around. They'll be like, yeah, that's good. That makes sense. You're giving them perspective.
Does that arc represent the national average of what the utility goes up?
This represents in the Front Range of Colorado.
In the Front Range of Colorado.
Last 20 years.
Okay.
And it's just 5.5%.
Okay.
This represents time of use recently.
Okay.
This, now we've applied it to looking ahead to the future. This is only if utilities increase by just this amount, which they won't. They're going to increase by a lot more.
Based historically annually 5.5, got Front Range. Okay, cool.
Which they're going to increase by a lot more than this. So this is conservative.
Okay.
So yes, that shock value. So back to role play. Yeah, that shock value of that. Solar is thousands of dollars, obviously, and that's shock value. But this is why, if you look at what you're paying the utility over time, it's thousands of dollars, but it's much more. So you're spending a lot either way. But which option you want to spend, or do you want to choose the one that is a lot of money or the one that's a little bit a lot of money? Can't pay zero. If there's that option, we'd be billionaires. but the question is, do you want to save on your electricity or not? And then silence is so key too. And so if you feel like you said a nice point, just sit on it, let them soak it in. So anyway, that's and then you just recap it that's all people are asking themselves. The people who switch to solar, that's really the only question they're asking themselves is not do they want to spend $1,000 on electricity? We have to. The question they're asking themselves is, with their utility, they can't control what they're paying, and they have no control over it, and they're not saving any money. So, the question they always ask themselves is, do they want to control their electric costs or not? Do they want to save money on electricity or not? Because there's only one option to be able to do that. So that's all this does for you. That's why people do this. So no matter what, we are paying money for electricity, but there's one option that's much, much cheaper. And if this, doesn't make 100% sense, that's okay. It doesn't make sense for everybody, but I've met with a lot of people, and I know, I've seen minimal savings for some people, and that still makes a lot of sense for some people, but I know when it makes sense. This definitely makes sense for you guys, especially having Excel, time of use, you can get into all that, So anyway, that's what you do when they're hesitant on price, and then keep in mind, I know it's a big number, but keep in mind, we are financing this. So if Excel asks you to pay a bunch of money, for the next 10 years in your electricity, that would be crazy. They wouldn't ask that of you. We're not asking that every year either. They just ask you to pay monthly. So that's all this is too. You're just paying monthly. There's no upfront cost. So keep in mind, your financing is just monthly. So if you can afford this, if you can afford your current electric bill, you can afford this. Because I'm sure you're, you know, I don't know what you're paying now, and they'll probably be like, yeah, probably around 115. It's like 140 in the summer, right? So what's all that going to be 5 years from now? 200 maybe, yeah. With solar, you're always going to know what you're paying. So just some things to think about, you know. So that's how you kind of talk through those conversations. Okay, for the sake of the video, we'll keep going here. So once you kind of like get through all that and whatever, and also too, like if the conversation keeps going, get off the numbers page a little bit. Maybe they're cool on numbers or whatever, and like they're not like too many questions or not too hesitant, or maybe they're hesitant and you feel like I just overcame that objection, right? I felt like I overcame that objection. You know, we visited the concern, I overcame it. Maybe they have another question about equipment. Okay, let's go back to equipment. Sit on equipment as I answer their question. Something to look at as we're talking. Or I can go to like a nice picture of solar as we're talking. You know, now it's time to close. So the next few pages is kind of after pricing. The next few pages is like closing. So like get them looking at solar, envisioning solar on their house and other people's houses. So you talk to them and answer other questions. Just have something up here. And then you get to, you know, back to like emotional, you know, environmental. Remember they said their main reason they wanted to do this is because they felt like this is the right thing to do environmentally. You know, keep that in mind. Like, okay, let's get back to their main dominant buying motive. That's why you try and get to it in the beginning so you can revisit it during closing. We got through the numbers, all the logical. Okay, we had to get there, got through it. Now it's time to close. Emotional. People will never make a decision until they're at like this, okay, this is something I want to do. It makes sense financially, I get that, but like, I like Apollo, I like Allison, they did a great job on my roof. I'm feeling good about like get to emotional, and that's when they pull the trigger. So we're all like that, you know. Like that, I think I didn't, well, not getting deep into it. Okay, so yeah, this is just environmental, kind of a reminder. Okay, so here's kind of the next steps of the process. The first step is to get you pre-approved. So we could check that. It's pretty easy. It takes like a minute for you to get approved. We could just see what we're working with. If you're even approved for this, once you're approved, then there's just a couple e-sign documents, and that's pretty much it. Then we can get your project started, and it's roughly 60, 90 days to get you to install. Or sooner, and we get you installed right before this spring or whatever time of year or whatever. And that's the whole process. From there, we handle everything else. So here's what we do. This isn't a project you take on. This is something we do for you. This is why you hire us. So your life's you're busy, you have a life, you know, so you just want solar, you just want to install, you want to reap the benefits. That's why you're hiring us. So yeah, these are the first steps to get started, which I can walk you through, but here's what we do after that. So we schedule the site audit, we come over, which is basically we just come over and measure your roof and take a look at your main electric panel. And we're here like less than an hour and in and out basically. And then we can submit for permitting. We can, if you have an HOA, we can do that. You can talk about that real quick. And then, yeah, we do the applications with your utility. There's a process for that. And then we schedule your install and get you installed. And then once you're installed, the utility comes out and then interconnects you. And that's when you're up and running. It's called PTO, permission to operate. And then we're your service and maintenance team forever after that. So, and we take care of you, again, happy customers. So this is what we're here to do for you. We take this whole project on. I know you guys might be waiting to like finish your basement and stuff, and you're doing a lot of projects around the house. This is not an additional project. You're probably always gonna be doing something, but this is the best time to get solar. And just keep in mind, this is not an additional project for you guys, because it's literally what you're paying us to do. We're doing this whole project for you. So yeah, let's see if you guys get approved. You wanna see if you guys get approved for this? Check it out and see what the deal is?
Yes,
yeah,
I do.
I can shoot that over to you guys. You have a computer. I will need to connect to internet real quick. Yeah, and then boom, boom.